Hello, welcome to the G.I. Joe New News Classified Reviews. My name is David T. Allen, or if you would like, Super Dave 817. If you would like to see more of this content, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification button for future videos. Thank you and enjoy.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the G.I. Joe New News Classified Review. I am David Allen. Today we are talking Dusty, number 49. So we got a G.I. Joe character finally. We haven't had one in quite a while, a new Joe character. So that'll be cool getting into Dusty. So we're moving right along with this. So first off, we're going to get into his history, a little bit about him and the background of Dusty, where he came from. First, we're going to start with creating G.I. Joe, the history of G.I. Joe, with Dan Klingensmith's series of guides. So we are on volume 4 is where Dusty comes in. There you go. Created by Dan Klingensmith again. Bobby World, hello. Thank you for joining us. Let's see. I wish there was soft goods on Dusty's helmet. Otherwise, pretty solid figure. I thought there was some soft good on his helmet. We'll get into that, but I thought there was. Bobby World. Let's see. I thought he was the first soft goods character. So turnarounds for Dusty there from Ron Rudat. So this is the first official desert character. Technically, we did get a desert version of Clutch and Grunt. Grunt came with the glider and desert khaki camo design, and Clutch came with the Vamp Mark II. But this is the first official desert soldier, from what his file card says. Let's see. It says alternate names: Gila, Mojave, and Sahara. Year release 1985, designed by Ron Rudat. Again, Ron Rudat designed the first 7 years, pretty much every character and almost all the vehicle drivers, not all the vehicle drivers, but some of them, during that 7 years. So let's see what Dan has to say about Dusty. With the file name Ronald A. Tater, last name is an anagram of Rudat. Dusty has become a favorite character for Ron, seeing that Dusty was a soldier who would fight in the desert under extreme heat conditions. Ron gave him a Havelock to protect him from the sunstroke. Ron shared that the Havelock was something used during the Civil War, and he had seen during his time doing Civil War reenactments. So that must be the helmet with the cloth part. It's called the Havelock, I guess. Havelock. Um, so, and then there's a couple of different color variations for Dusty. So those are some interesting variant names that they had for him. Desert names. Let's see. Then we're going to go into his vintage package. His vintage package, again, the art of collecting the art of G.I. Joe by Carson Metaxas, 3D Joes. This is volume 2 again. Dusty, and he's actually on the cover there. Dusty is. And so here's his vintage package right there. Bobby World. in the episode Traitor, Dusty's name was Ronald Dusty W. Rudat. Oh, that's cool. I think it's really cool that they put in a lot of homages. I mentioned that we would be getting to some characters with homage names the other day. I didn't remember that Dusty was also a Ron Rudat anagram type character. So let's see. Dusty makes his first appearance, and this is an odd issue that he makes his first appearance. I thought he made his first appearance earlier than this, but apparently, in one of my favorite story arcs, is Dusty's first appearance, number 58. This is the first appearance of the Armor Cobra Commander, my favorite Cobra Commander. Is where Dusty makes his first appearance with Mainframe. Let me see. Mainframe and Dusty have a story in here. Also, Dusty makes his first appearance in Sunbow in episode, I think, 1 of the Pyramids of Darkness. Again, the same episode as the Crimson Guard, and a lot of first appearances for a lot of characters in that episode. There you go. So that's that. And then we have the vintage version of his figure. And it looks like I have all of his accessories in here. So that's rare for me to have all the accessories of a vintage character. I usually don't have all their vintage accessories. So the funny thing is he has what is considered has been coined as the Sunbow rifle, which or the Snow Job rifle, whichever you want to call it. That's the Sunbow rifle. It's like the one that Snow Job had. It looks like a normal rifle, but that's what they used in Sunbow. Almost everybody had the same rifle because it would have been difficult to try to animate all those different weapons that these characters come with. So they gave them all that rifle, and it's been coined as the Sunbow rifle. And there's Dusty, and he has his backpack. There, his backpack. And he has the Havelock, I guess. This little cloth piece that's over his helmet. It's kind of part of the head. They made it part of the head there. You can see this little cloth part there. So the vintage version did have a cloth part to it, and it's called the Havelock, I guess, is what they referred to it as there. And so he's one of the thicker characters with the thicker legs, so he's a little bit wobbly there. Most of these thicker leg characters have a little bit more wobbly in them, but he's a cool looking character. I think they did a good job with him as a desert character. He has a couple of tampos and some yellow, white deco and red deco on him, and he has the goggles and his backpack and everything. And black boots and black belts and a harness for the backpack and a black t-shirt and a little bit of black arm pads there. So he's got quite a lot of different deco in him. Obviously, he's desert camo, so he's going to be a desert character. And so there you go. And then now we're going to get into our vintage Dusty. So again, he's 46 or 49, not 46, 49. Let's check out some of these designations on him. We'll see what we have for designations. Let's see. We have one of the shields. I don't have a lot of those shields classified. I have this one though. This one is called Environmental Specialist. So that's the first designation. And then he has the ammo, and the ammo is light weapons. So Environmental Specialist, light weapons, and then he has that one, communication maybe. linguistics. So I was pretty close, linguistics. And then desert combat. So there you go. So linguistics, desert combat, light weapons, and uh, and lost it. And environmental specialist. So it covers all of our designations for Dusty. So that's pretty cool, right? Step back. So that's all the designations for him. So he has a really creepy kind of artwork on the side here, and it rolls over to this artwork. Again, I love all these different styles of artwork, and he's probably one of the last ones to have a different package art like that that has this new this packaging design. They changed this up a lot over the next few packages. But I think I really enjoyed all the different art styles for each character. Then we have the new back package design with Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes fighting each other, and then Snake Eyes in the Arashikage Temple. And I'm pretty sure Dusty's does not show up on here because the last 3 or 4 characters were not on this piece of artwork. So, of course, this is our first time opening Dusty. Like all the other figures, we're going to go through the numbers, and we're now up to 49. And he has the stars and stripes on the interior there. And we're going to go right down the line, and that brings us to 49. All right, so let's get Dusty out of his package. Excuse all the noise. And because we're talking about the Shamak, you were right, Bobby World. It's plastic. It's a plastic piece. It's not cloth. So you are correct. So we do not get a cloth piece. So he was not the first Joe in the classified line that had a soft goods. I was under a different impression. So thank you very much. So it's great having you guys in the chat to help me correct these things when I make mistakes. So overall, so far, this is a really good figure. I think a lot of this articulation and stuff like that, I mean, design, I don't think we've gotten with any other characters. So he's got a secondary harness. He's got a brown belt. He's got, like the vintage, he's got the little bitty yellow tampos there. And he does not have the red tampo on his arm like he does in the vintage, which is very surprising. His boots are brown instead of black. Deco, he's got a lot of brown on him. I like his face print. I think that's a really good face print. He's got also some paint on the face there. And I like this layering. I don't know whose legs these are, but I have a feeling these legs are from somebody. I don't think these are Outbacks. He has all the normal articulation points that all the modern figures have had in classified. Let's see if he has the wrist articulation, the secondary wrist. No, he does not have the secondary wrist. Let's see if he has the secondary ankle articulation. He does have the secondary ankle articulation, so that's good, right? But he has all your normal articulation points. The new head articulation, the butterfly shoulder, the double pinned elbows, the ab crunch with the waist there. He's got the crotch articulation with the legs. He's got the double pinned knees. He's got the thigh. He got pretty much all the regular ones that you would want, except he's got the extra ankle one, and not the extra wrist one. He's got the thigh, the calf swivel extra muscle there. So he looks pretty good. Overall, I think that's a pretty good vintage version of Dusty. They classified him up pretty nicely. He's thinner. His legs are thinner. Obviously, they did not give him the shemak, the cloth shemak, but we have the regular helmet. Let's put that on him and see what he looks like. It doesn't stay on very well. It's very loose. Um, I would have liked to have had maybe a footloose type helmet. That would have been a little tighter. But yeah, he's got his helmet on. It's a little loose. Um, so, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes as we go along with him. Let's see if I can stand him up there. Yep, there he is with his helmet. So then we get his backpack. His backpack is very similar to his vintage backpack. It's a darker shade of brown. So we'll put that on his back. A lot of these backpacks have not been staying on recently, but we'll see if we can get this one to stay on. Yeah. All right. Yep, stayed on. So then he comes with the goggles. Like the vintage one, he has the goggles, but the goggles on the vintage one are separate. On the classified are separate from the desert one. So I'm going to try and put the goggles on the hat and see if they will stay on the hat. I don't know if they will or not, but we will try. That's all we can do. Yeah. Doesn't seem like they're staying on there very good. The goggles. All right, I got the goggles on his helmet. We'll put the helmet on his head. Actually, that helps his helmet stay on a little bit better because it tightens it a little bit. Unlike the other helmet, he has straps. He's got some straps on this one that are different than the vintage one. The vintage one didn't have any straps, and there's the goggles on him. All right. So then we're going to get into some of his weapons. He has a sheath on the bottom right hand ankle. So we're going to put that knife in that sheath there. It's right there. Secondary knife holster there. We're going to put that knife in there. In we go. All right, next we have another set of goggles. So I guess you can have one set of goggles on his helmet and one set of goggles you can have for just his eyes, I guess. I'm not sure. Oops. Where did that go? I just popped out a cartridge for his rifle, a little weapons cartridge. Put that there so we don't lose it. And then we have his gun. His gun has a little desert, little stand-up thing. So if he's out in the desert and he's shooting somebody, he can stand his rifle up and he can stand in the desert. This rifle has a lot of greeble in there. There's a sight thing on the top there. You can see that sight thing there. Has a cool sniper part. And then this, of course, can go up so you can use it in the desert. So that does it for accessories. So we'll put that over there and we'll see if we can get him all set up with his rifle. And then maybe put the cartridge, weapons cartridge on that rifle. Let me see if I can do that first. Not sure where that cartridge is supposed to go. Oh, there it goes right there. Like, what? It's got to go somewhere. So that goes there. There. So he's got his oops. I loosened up his little thing there, his stand thing, accidentally. I loosened his stand up and took it off of it where it was, and I was looking to see about that cartridge. So I got the cartridge on there, and then I loosened this little stand thing. So I need to put it back to where it was. Hmm. There. All right, I got it back in there. All right, so we're going to try to get that into his hand, and we'll see what it looks like. That up. And we'll see if we can get him into a desert stance so he can use his rifle with his little thing on it. So there. So now you can do that with his sniper. Oh, you can't really see that, can you? Let me lower this a little so you can see that. And then we'll move him over there. There, like that. So you kind of see him there with his stance. Hey, Lena Honda. Thanks for joining. Yo, Joe. So there he is with his weapon. So I think overall, with the exception of a little bit of the looseness of this, this is not a bad figure. His hat and his shamak, I agree with you that Bobby World, that we should have gotten the cloth goods on that, like the vintage. I guess they weren't in the right position at this point to get the cloth goods yet. So that's probably why we didn't get it. So that's a shame because I think that would have been cool. And the backpacks are still having difficulty staying on. So that's another detraction from this that I wish they could get that fixed. But, that's the way it goes. Not every figure is going to be 100% of a banger. I'm putting him on a stand right now. Let's see if I can get him into this stand. Why isn't he going into the stand? That's weird. One of the legs goes in, but the other one doesn't. Let's see. I'm having a hard time getting him into one of the stands. All right. All right, I got him into a stand. Wow, that was a little bit difficult. More difficult than I thought it was going to be. Let's see. There. So in the process, not only did his helmet come off, his backpack came off. So that illustrates, like I was saying, that these backpacks are not on there very good. There, so there's his backpack, there's his hat, but his goggles stayed on, which is really good. So then we have his second set of goggles. So I'm wondering if we can put the second set of goggles on him like this, and then I have all of his accessories on him. So there's two sets of goggles there. No, well, I'll just put that one around his neck, I guess. So he has two sets of goggles. And there you go. There's Dusty, number 49. Overall, I think they did a pretty decent job with this, classifying this version. There's a couple of detractions, like Bobby World said, we don't have the cloth goods on this, and the helmet and stuff like that, and the backpack are a little loose. But overall, it looks good. I think it was a good attempt for a first Dusty. I'm hoping eventually we'll get Dusty version 2. If we do get a vintage version of Dusty at some point, I would hope some of these things would be corrected with this version, that we get a closer representation of his backpack, maybe, and the shamak, the cloth goods shamak, and the helmet that is more like the Footloose helmet or the Hawk helmet, so it'll stay on there better. Hello, Lenny Honda. How are you? Let's see. Dusty sold. Oh yeah, he sold us out to Cobra. I think that was a Sunbow story where he was undercover and he was helping GI Joe trying to infiltrate Cobra to get some intel on him. So I don't really think of him as a traitor per se. It's just they're in the military, and sometimes they have to do undercover ops and undercover work. In the comics, they're always doing that, Lenny Honda. So I'm a little bit more forgiving of Dusty because of that. I don't really treat him too bad because of that. Bobby World, you know how brave Dusty is to be the person to test out the armor formula on the uniforms to see how laser resistant they are. Yeah, he's a brave character. Dusty was one of my favorite characters in the Sunbow animated series, so I'm a little bit more friendly towards Dusty and where his decision-making prowess problems are and things like that. You're just messing. You love the character design. Oh, okay. I thought you were kidding around. But thanks for saying that. So Dusty's a really cool character. He had some really interesting new names, Mojave and Sahara and stuff like that. I like that actually. I would have liked to have seen maybe Mojave. I think that would have been a cool, interesting, unique name for somebody. Maybe a Cobra desert character, but we end up getting Desert Scorpion, no Mojave. So that would have been an interesting Native American character, a female desert character, Mojave, wouldn't it have? I think. So it's interesting looking back at some of the design choices and decision making that they make with these characters. Some of the stuff is you would like to see that never came about, and the fact that this is a Ron Rudat character, he put a lot of love into this one. I think Dusty's a pretty good name, but it's kind of bland, kind of, I would have liked a little more excitement with it. But so what do you guys think? You like Dusty? Think that's a good figure? Like I said, he's got a lot of layering. He does not have the camo pattern on all of his body parts. The arms have a little, the legs have a little. The head dress does not have it. So there's a little bit of lacking in the camouflage as well. And he doesn't have that tampo that he usually has. You wonder where we're going to get another Dusty Bobby World with the pet Sandstorm. Well, I'm hesitant to say. I have on pretty good terms that we're probably going to get a Dusty and Sandstorm sometime sooner rather than later. If you really think of all the characters they've got in the works right now, we got a lot more stuff that hasn't been revealed for this year. We've got a ton of stuff that's coming out for next year. There's only so many characters they can do for pet companions, so they want to keep that price point going. So the deluxe price point, the figure and pet price point, the 2-pack price point, the vintage package, the legacy, the regular figure price point, all those price points, they got to keep all that stuff going. So we've got Desert Scorpion. I think we need to get another adversary for Desert Scorpion. We do have Dusty, but we need a little bit more than that. So I think it would be awesome to get a Dusty with Sandstorm pet companion to go against that Desert Scorpion. So I think the Desert Scorpion is a pet price point figure and pet. I don't think that's a deluxe. So yeah, I think what other pet companions can they do? We got Law and Order. I got my notification on that. I should be getting it soon. I'm trying to think. We're probably going to get a Night Force Mutton Junkyard, and we'll probably end up with a I don't know what was Law and, oh, he was in the Sergeant Slaughter's Marauders. Wasn't Law and Order, maybe? I can't remember if he had any reissues, Law and Order. You guys tell me in the chat if Law and Order had any reissues, either Sergeant Slaughter's Marauders, Night Force, or something else. I don't recall. But I think maybe the Law and Order, you could get a little bit of reuse for that for the Sandstorm. He's a Bobcat. He's probably going to be smaller than Order, I guess. Yeah, now that I think about it, I bet he'd be a little smaller than that. Trying to think of who else would be a pet. We have Deep Six with Finback, the dolphin. We haven't gotten any water characters. We also have the eels, and we have a Barracuda, robot Barracuda with the eels version 2, and then we have the manta ray with the water guy. I can't think of the water guy's name. If you guys remember who the water guy is in the chat, let me know. He had like the stingray. So there's 3 or 4 more figure and pet companions maybe we could get down the road, but I would guess Sandstorm would be the next one. We've got polar bears, we've got alligators, we've got, oh yeah, I totally forgot, we got Voltar with his vulture. So we've got raptor, we've got different dogs and wolves, eagles and birds. Trying to think, we got warthogs with Naugahyde and Yabo with a monkey. So they're getting really deep into the animal companions. So I think Sandstorm is probably our next one. I think we're due for another Dusty. So it'll either be a vintage package Dusty or a Sandstorm. He looks very much vintage package here. Like I said, there's only a couple of things you could change about him, with the shamak in the back, make that soft goods, make the backpack more khaki, add a little bit more deco on him, and pretty much there's your vintage. So there's not much difference there. So maybe we should wait on the vintage package one, and we should get version 2 first. I think there's a lot of body reuse for the version 2 Dusty that could be used. Maybe some footloose reuse there on some of the legs and different other parts. There's plenty of body reuse that would be easy to redo that figure. And he would have the beret. We've gotten berets already, 3 or 4, 5 different berets. And we got the new Sergeant Slaughter that's with the Mercer 2-pack. That's a desert type character. So we got a couple of desert, but not a lot of desert. Not a lot. I would really like. We also got the Snake Eyes desert version, which is the first version of Snake Eyes in that desert design. That's a new design for Snake Eyes. So I would like to get, again, like I said, when they did the O-ring versions of Grunt and Clutch for the Vamp Mark II and Clutch with the glider. But I think it would be cool to get a desert Clutch and a desert Grunt Mark Clutch with the Vamp Mark II and Grunt in desert camo to go along with Dusty and Sergeant Slaughter. So then, and Snake Eyes. So then we have a little bit of a desert contingent. We can do some desert ops with those guys. That would give us 5 or 6 and give Dusty a couple alternatives to do him as a desert character. So I think that would be fun. And the fact that they're mixing and matching a lot of this stuff is kind of cool. And then if we ever got a Ostriker or a Vamp Mark II, we could do both of them in desert camo and desert designs. And I think that would be cool. Then we'd have some vehicles for them to use as well. And then I guess you could use Mainframe, because he was in that story that I was talking about in the comics with Dusty. So there you go. There's another kind of desert character, Mainframe. So, well, what do you guys think about Dusty? You think that's a good figure? Not like on the great scale, but 6, 7 maybe on the 1 to 10 scale. Room for improvement, right? So I think they did all right with him. I kind of like the vintage one better a little bit. He's a little chunkier. I also wanted to tell you guys I got my Walmart Quick Kick and Beachhead 2-pack. So I'll be going over that in a little while in a video. So hang in there for that. I got 2 of them like I do with each of these. So I just wanted to show you that for this video. I got a lot of stuff that's on the way that I've got notifications for. So I'll be doing some of those. And I'm still waiting on the rest of my Haya stuff. So I haven't gotten all that. So that's why I haven't done that Haya video yet. But I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me and contributing in the chat. Lenny Honda, thank you. Again, let's see. Have you seen any of the Stingers on the shelf at your stores? I'm very lucky that I have a lot of Walmarts in my area that I can go to. My store in particular, we did not get that display, but the town over from where I live, we did get that display, and there were Stingers there on that Hasbro display. There were only 500 of those displays distributed across America, and it was not distributed across any other countries. Walmarts, only in the US, 500 of those. They're supposed to release those displays in October. That's when they were originally supposed to come out. They were supposed to be part of the fall reset for the holidays, and a lot of stores put those out too early, and a lot of stores have been selling out all the stuff, and now those displays are kind of empty, and it's kind of disappointing that they didn't get put out when they were supposed to in October. That's when they were originally supposed to get put out. And so yeah, the town up for me had some at that store, and that's the only one I've seen so far. The one that's near my house, they didn't have it, and the one that I work for didn't have it. I've got to check a couple other ones to see in towns near here that I go to. Actually, the town up the road, not across from where I live, up the road from where they didn't have it either. So I've seen it. I've been to 3 or 4 Walmarts that didn't have it, but one of them did. Our Walmarts don't stock G.I. Joe figures anymore, just online. Well, that's the thing. This display was supposed to be a Hasbro signature retail space for G.I. Joe, Marvel Legends, Star Wars Black, and Transformers, a lot of the new Transformers. And so that's where that stuff was going to go in store. So if the stores got it, that's where all those things would be. If the store didn't get it, then it would normally be either on the regular aisle or online only for that stuff. So that's why they did that as a seasonal display. 500 stores were supposed to get that. And so all that merchandise should have shipped to them. Some of them got a lot of the merchandise and they put it out and they didn't know what to do with it. So they stuck it in clearance. I know that's where a lot of the crystal balls are going in clearance. Lenny Honda. I finally got a nice vintage Dusty last month. Took forever to get a nice one with the bipod. Yeah, vintage Dusty is a tricky one. His crotches go out and the bipod goes missing on that one to try and get all the parts and stuff like that. My vintage one, it has the crotch and it doesn't have the bipod. So, but I'm not a mint complete collector, so some of those weird little things I'm okay with giving up on. I'm not gonna try and go out of my way to get a lot of that stuff. But congratulations for getting that, Lenny Honda. Trying to get vintage stuff is really, really difficult, complete. So that's why I've never been a mint complete person. So a lot of my collection I have, and I'm missing accessories or missing a missile or I'm missing this or that. So I have friends that are completists, but I'm not. And it makes it easier for me to collect. And like I said before, everybody collects differently. If that's what you are, a mint completist, by all means, congratulations. That's a harder thing to do than it is to do what I'm doing. Mine's is a lot easier. That's why I was able to get a lot of this stuff faster. I'm only down to 2 vehicles. And like I said, they don't have to be mint complete either. I only have 2 more Night Force vehicles to complete my O-Ring original vintage collection from 82 to 94. And when I say complete, that means I have the figure, I have some accessories, or I have the vehicle, and I have most of the equipment and everything on it. That's what I'm saying by complete. I have something of it. I wouldn't just say I had it if I only had a gun or a backpack. I need to have the figure, and I need to have most of the accessories or the file cards or what have you. So like I said, each of us collects different. Wow. Yeah. It's taken me quite a while. Let's see. When did I start trying to reacquire my vintage collection? I think I mentioned this on my 100 subs video. That I lost my vintage collection because we moved as a family when I was younger a lot, every year and a half. My family were like gypsies. We moved a lot. And so I lost my vintage collection when I was young. I was 16 and we moved to Florida. We had to make a decision whether we were going to keep our toys or keep our comics. And me and my twin brother, we decided to keep our comic collection. Had I known that the comics would be a lot easier to get, I would have kept my vintage toy collection. So I started reacquiring my vintage G.I. Joe collection probably around 2010. So it's taken me 15 years or so, give or take, to try to complete that vintage collection. And I think I've done pretty good. I'm really down the last 3 to 4 years. I'm really down to Night Force, the most harder pieces to get. The Night Force, I would say that those are the hardest pieces to acquire for a vintage collection. But I got most of that stuff probably 2016 to 2018 is where I got, I would say, 90% of my vintage collection from a gentleman locally, a friend of mine who's a collector and a dealer, Carlos Barone. Hooked me up with a collector that was selling his childhood collection and put me in contact. And I made arrangements with this guy, Daniel, Mark. His name is Mark. Sorry, not Daniel, Mark, to buy his childhood collection. And I slowly bought it out and filled in all the gaps. And then anything that was missing, like really large pieces, I bought afterwards, or really hard to get pieces, I've been filling in. And like I said, I'm down to only two pieces, two Night Force pieces. The Night Force Sky Striker, which is the boomer, and the Night Force Moray, which is the manta ray, or ray, I think night ray or something like that, I believe. Those are my last two pieces. I have everything else, and they're expensive, so I can't get them very easily. And when I've been getting them, they've been almost 100% complete when I've bought them. So that's the good thing about the Night Force. I've been getting it pretty complete. Lenny Honda, Score, Doc, and Footloose, the month 82 through 86 complete. Oh, very good, Lenny Honda. Those are some really good characters. And so you got the core, what I would consider the core eras of G.I. Joe, 82 to 86. Most Joe collectors, that is their time frame. They're either vintage OG-13 collectors, they're 84, 85 collectors, or 86 collectors. And you could do a little bit of 87 in there because there was tons of cool stuff in 87. But those are your biggest years. If you look at the Venn diagram of years success for G.I. Joe, where it rose the highest, that was your highest. It went down a little bit in 87, then went back up, then it went down in 88, 89, and started going back up in the 90s, and then went back down in the late 90s. Talking to a lot of the guys that were the merchandising people, the production people, the management and stuff like that on the brands. Yeah, it started to peter off around 87, took a little bit of dip in 87, and then went back up and then went back down. So yeah, 82 to 86, you got the primary ones, but there's some really good stuff in 87, and each year has a couple of interesting things. The 90s has some really good stuff. 89 and 90 also have some really good stuff. So good job on that, getting that. There's a lot of vehicles in those years as well. The vehicle count starts going down around 87 as well. We start taking a little bit of a dive on vehicles. But you got most of the vehicles from 82 to 86, right? Is that part of your completing those years, or does that not include those years, Lenny Honda, for vehicles? I found the vehicles not too difficult because a lot of collectors, vintage collectors, they don't get vehicles. So buy vehicles. If you go to like Joe Fest, Joe Con, a lot of the places like that, it's easier to buy vehicles, and they're really cheap a lot of the times. Yeah, you have most of the vehicles. Okay. Yeah, a lot of cool vehicles during that time. The key thing with the vehicles is getting the tampos, right? Getting the tampos that are clean and bright. A lot of the tampos and the color, the stickers come off on a lot of that stuff. So that's the most difficult thing about the vehicles for the that time frame. Actually, all the G.I. Joe vehicles for all the time frame, it's difficult. Rattler and Sky Striker were not cheap complete, but they were my grails. Wow, that's great that you were able to get the Rattler and the Sky Striker complete. I would have thought your hardest one would have been the flag. That seems to be everybody's grail, is trying to get that flag. I got a flag, I guess, 2018. I did not have a flag. So that's another thing about my vintage collection, Lenny Hunt. I did not have a flag when I was young. I did not have a lot of the vehicles when I was young. I had all the little vehicles, a lot of medium vehicles, one or two large vehicles, but I did not have all the grails. I did not have the flag. I did not have the Terradrome. I did not have the Mobile Command Center. I did not have the Defiant. all those were like things that I got as an adult that I was like, wow, I always wanted a Defiant. That was my number one vehicle that I wanted as a child. And it came out probably in my time that I was getting out of G.I. Joe in the later 80s, like 70, 88, 89. I was starting to get out. And so that's when the Defiant came out. And I wish I had gotten that as a child. Maybe I wouldn't have started getting out of G.I. Joe at that time. But I got it as an adult, and mine's is a incomplete Defiant. It has the gantry and all the stuff and the figures. And I got the two figures really cheap. I bought the figures separate from when I bought the Defiant. And it was a bit damaged. I also got that from my friend Carlos Barone, and I was able to fix it and repair it. So it's, I would say it's 199.9% complete and really nice looking and clean. But that was not a cheap one. That was a $350 piece. The figures were $100 to get both figures, and I do not have the mic. So if you round that all up, that's about $450 to pretty much complete that, the Defiant. But as an adult, we have much more disposable income than we did as children. But it was cheaper. It was like, I think $75 when I was young. I've never ever saw it at the store. I don't think one of my friends had it, but I never had it. I grew up in a small town in Western Virginia, and poor, only had super common figures as a kid. Yeah, that was basically me too. I had super common figures, and I got all of them. That wasn't a problem because I worked as a teenager from when I was 11 on till now. I've worked my entire life. So I paid for a lot of my stuff when I was young, and things were cheaper. Figures, you could do figures at Toys R Us and Woolworths and Sears. They had sales 2 for $3, and you could easily get 5 to 10 figures for like $20 easily. And I worked seasonal jobs at little seafood restaurants. I did worked at a flea market. I worked doing yard work and stuff like that. So I had plenty of money when I was a teenager, and I was able to get a lot of that stuff. Oh, hello. I always get your name, Clement. Good night. Hello. Good night. Thanks for joining us. Um, oh, yeah. Talk amongst yourselves in the chat. Um, so that's a little history. So I'm very similar to you, Lenny, on how I was able to get my figures and stuff as a child in the 80s. I'm a original Joe guy, 82, but I would say I was a later 82. I was a swivel arm, not a straight arm guy. So there's some of us vintage collectors that are straight arm guys. Some of us are swivel arm guys. I have both sets. I have a swivel arm set, and I have a straight arm set. Mix and match, actually. I may not have both complete, but I have a mix and match of both. So I came in the later 82 for that, and that's another group. So there's the vintage guys that are swivel arm, vintage guys that are straight arm. So I think it's really cool, and there's different contingents, and some of those vehicles from 82 to 86 are really hard. I would have thought the whale would have been hard for you to get. Try to find a complete vintage whale that goes up upwards of $500 on the secondary market, because the propellers and the outer rim parts and the motorcycle and the slide and things like that, and some of that stuff breaks, so trying to get them unbroken is another difficult part with the whale. So what other vehicles do you think were really hard to get, Lenny Honda? I'd be curious to find out, because I can tell you I've seen a lot of this stuff in the secondary market at Joe Fest, Joe Con, Assembly Required. Watching videos of DFW, I've never been to it. There was a lot of Joe stuff there. Kentuckiana, that was more of a 12-inch. But they did have some vintage stuff. And Joe Lanta, Toylanta, the Dirty South meetup here in Florida, Ultracon, and things like that. There's a lot of vehicles to be had, but whether you can get them at a decent price. I have noticed since I've joined the community 2010 or so, when I joined the community, the vehicles have gone up and the figures have gone up too over the last 15 years or so. So it is harder now for collectors trying to go back and get some of that stuff. So let me know if you guys are newer collectors going back and trying to find the vintage stuff, or are you vintage guys that are just now getting it and you're getting the available income to try to do that. Let me know which version of collectors you guys are. I'd be curious to see, because I think there are still people coming into this brand that were vintage and new collectors that are getting this stuff because of classified. I'd be interested to find out which version of collectors you are. Let's see. I am in classic coastal North Carolina, not much in the wild at all, online mainly. Oh, okay. So you're in the coastal North Carolina area. Well, there are a lot of conventions in and around North Carolina. Collector Fest, Joe Fest. Um, I'm trying to think. Heroes Con. I don't know if you find a lot of vintage toys there. That's more of a comic convention of North Carolina, Charlotte. But growing up, we didn't have a whole lot of room for the vehicles. It was just the figures. Bobby World, I completely understand. Uh, I was in the same boat. I was only getting a lot of the small vehicles and medium vehicles. I didn't have room for large vehicles. And when I got a large vehicle, it was more of a grail type of thing, like the Havoc. That is why that's my favorite vehicle. I got that. I would consider that a large vehicle on the scale of a Whale, right? Or a Sky Striker or a Rattler. I had both of those. They were part of my collection. So it was very few large vehicles that I had. Um, I did not have the Whale. Um, I did. I did have the Tomahawk. I did have the Havoc. I did have the Sky Striker, the Rattler. I'm trying to think of. I had the Joe headquarters, the Dragonfly. I had Vamps, Strikers, Stingers. I had the gliders. My gliders were tore up really bad. Was the biggest I had as a kid. Okay, Lenny Honda. That was a fairly large vehicle, and it was very common. They made a lot of Dragonflies. I did not have the Stun as a kid. I love the Stun now as an adult, but I did not have the Stun. I'm trying to think of what other vehicles between 82 and 86. I had the tactical battle platform. I absolutely loved that. Play sets were my thing as a kid. That's why I loved the headquarters. I loved a lot of the bivouacs and the little play sets and the tactical battle platform. Oh my God. If they did that in classified scale and really went to town on all the winches and helipads and boat attachments and ladders and computer docking, all that. Oh man, I would absolutely love that. I think maybe that's where Cutter should be. If they did classified, put Cutter in a tactical battle platform playset, because I don't think we would get the Whale in classified scale. If we did, it would be upwards of $500 to get a classified Whale, and it would be bigger than the width of this screen that I'm standing in. That space, it would be like that big. It'd be absolutely huge to get a Whale. I think that's the maximum scale of classified that we're going to get. I think Moray, if we get it, is going to be pretty big. but I think the whale would be even bigger. The battle platform is underrated. Oh my God. As a child, I was in love with that thing. I played with that thing because I lived um, most of my teenage years. I lived in New Hampshire, and I did a lot of wilderness stuff up in New Hampshire. I was a part of a youth group called the Cadet Rangers, and we did a lot of outdoorsy stuff. We did canoeing, we did rappelling, we did camping. And when I talk camping, we had tents and we cooked on like ranges, and we have fires, and we made our own fires, and we had a lot of that type of training. It wasn't like the Boy Scouts, and we competed against other youth groups, the Navy youth group, the Air Force youth group, and so on. We were the Army youth group up in New Hampshire. So I did that type of stuff when I was younger, and I was out in the wilderness. All the towns that I lived in, there was rivers, there was wilderness you could go and play in and play with your toys. I played with my toys. I don't know how many Ostrikers I put down the hill with my figures fighting the cobras. I went through 7 or 8 Ostrikers because an Ostriker was like, I don't know, like $8 or $9 to buy. It was not that expensive to get an Ostriker with crankcase. I had probably that was the thing I had the most when I was young was Ostrikers. I loved Ostrikers. 84, late 83, 4. That was my period that I loved the most. Nothing against 85, 86, and earlier, but that was my prime years, 83, 84, 85, and 86, I would say. All my favorite stuff came out in 84. All my favorite vehicles, all my favorite play sets. I love that. I have fond memories of those years going out in the wilderness and playing with my GI Joes. Um, the kids today do not do that. The kids today don't even go outside. I would not um, say. Maybe they do their bicycling a little bit or skateboarding a little bit outside, the kids, but they don't go outside like I did when I was a kid. I wish the kids did that nowadays. It was fun. Those I have fond memories of of that period of my time as a child. Um, so thank you guys for helping me go down memory lane a little bit here, Lenny Honda. That's really cool. And you too, Bobby World. Thank you guys all in the chat for joining me again. It's always fun talking to you guys and going down memory lane. It would be pretty boring if I just had to talk to myself on these videos. So I really, really appreciate you guys in the chat. And I love it when you guys comment after the fact, the folks that are watching these videos after the fact and asking questions. I love answering those questions for you guys as well. So we are on number 49 with Dusty. So number 50 is next, and it is one of my all-time favorite troop builders coming up. And if you've been watching this from the beginning, you'll know what is my favorite faction of GI Joe and what my favorite troop builders are. And so we're getting into that next with number 50. And then after that will be another vintage package character. My first figure of all time will be the next vintage package character. So you guys, you got a lot of fun stuff from my past coming up. I'll give you guys heads up on those. And so I look forward to those in the future. I still have another tribute video. I was going to do it today, but I changed my mind. I may do it tomorrow. So that is going to be on my Facebook page. So just keep an eye on those notifications and you can watch it on my Facebook page. It will not be on my YouTube channel, that tribute. So then we still have, like I said, waiting on the Hiya. We'll be doing it all Hiya episode. And then I have some new things coming in. And when I get a couple of those things, we will do a video talking about some of the new classified stuff. So keep an eye on all that. And thank you. And finally, we got a Joe character, so I can get back to Yo Joe. See you in the next one, guys.